gave without taking. And I sent you away, oh Nancy, and you kissed me and stopped me from shaking. And I need you today, oh Nancy.
Welcome back to Gaming and Obscurity. My name is Ryan McSwain, and on this episode, two of my nerd worlds are colliding because we are taking a look at 5-Card Nancy, designed by comic book creator Scott McCloud and featuring art by comic stripper Ernie Bushmiller. McCloud's done a lot of great work over the years. This here is Destroy. It's an oversized satire on violence. It's got some fun artwork, really good stuff. This here is Zot, a 37-issue series from the 80s, and this is one of my favorite comic book series of all time, and that is saying a lot considering how many comic books I read. I cannot recommend it enough. McCloud is actually very well known for his comic book theories. He was a pioneer in areas like digital comics and web comics, and you can read about a lot of his ideas in Understanding Comics, Reinventing Comics, and Making Comics. They're very, very good books, and if you're interested in comic books, I highly recommend them. But if you are interested at all in making comic books, creating them, they're really a must-read. Alright, 5-Card Nancy, the rules for the game have been available on Scott McCloud's website for quite some time. It's a 3-player game. It's actually kind of a first for GO because we have never featured a game before that it's never been commercially released. So this is actually my homemade copy, and I can't wait to show it to you. This is the box I made to hold my copy of 5-Card Nancy. As you can see, it has kind of it looks like old newsprint. My wife gave me the idea of wadding up regular white paper and then painting it with tea, like the tea that you drink, in order to give it that weathered look. And I thought that was kind of fun and cool. The lid is a Nancy strip done using random panels, which is what you do in the game. So I think it's pretty well suited. Here are the rules. It's just an HTML printout from scottmccloud.com. The rules are very clear. They're easy to understand. He also explains why Nancy, which I'll talk about in just a second. And he used original artwork so that he wouldn't have to come into an altercation with the mafia-like comic book syndicate. So, you are going to want a lot of panels. The more the merrier on this kind of a game. Now, the way that I did it is I found scans of Nancy strips online, and then I resized them vertically so that they would all match. Now, not everyone's going to want to do that. I totally understand. If that's the case, you're probably going to want to find comic book reprints. You can find them pretty cheap. You're going to want older Bushmiller strips so that they match. But no one's probably going to notice but me, so don't worry about it too much. Now, why does Nancy work for this kind of a game where you're recombining panels to tell a new story? Well, it's because these panels are just so simple. McCloud compares them to atoms, and so you take each of these just basic building blocks and you make new molecules out of these atoms, which is kind of a neat way to look at it. One thing I hear a lot when you're talking about Bushmiller's art style is sort of this 3-rock philosophy. Now, a lot of times when he's trying to show a group of something, there's almost always 3 of them. See those rocks? Now, anytime you see a group of rocks, it's almost always going to be exactly 3. Because 2, it's a couple of rocks. And 4, that's one more than you need to show a group of rocks. So you're going to see 3 of them. And that's just kind of a little background on it. Now, when you're building your collection of strips, when you're building your collection of panels, you might be tempted to just use these goofy gag panels, but you're also going to want these just simple, basic transition panels because they're going to fit into the game a lot easier, and I think you'll understand when you see gameplay. The first thing you do is get a pile of panels and get them all turned over and shuffled up. You could also just draw them out of something, which would be a lot faster and easier to do. Each player is dealt 5 panels to be their hand, and then you take a random panel and you start off the game. This is a very generic one. It has Nancy and Sluggo just walking outside. That'll be easy to play off of. I'm going to just pretend that I'm playing with other people and just kind of demonstrate the way it goes. So the first person takes a look at their hand and they find a panel with both Nancy and Sluggo. So they'll play that. They're outside. he is saying something about having a diet, always being hungry. So each player now has the chance to object. And but everyone is fine with that placement. They like the way the story's going. The next player has another panel, and the diet gave them the idea of putting this one down. A voice is saying, "Hey Nancy," we're assuming it's Sluggo. Nancy is running away with candy. All right. Next player decides, you know what? I don't like the panels I have. All of them just have Nancy or Sluggo by themselves. So I'll take one of these panels, I'll trade it in, and get a new one. And maybe that player will be able to play that panel next turn. They'll set that aside. All right, so the next player says, I have one with Nancy and Sluggo together talking. Oh, but it's at night, and you know what? She's starting to run away. So the other players take a look at this and say, you know what? We like the Ed Wood idea of having night and day just switching around, but we don't really like the way that's going. So they vote against that panel staying. And so that player has to take that card back and put it back into their hand. And the next player says, you know what? Nancy's running away. Let's add this one. And play will continue like that until someone runs out of cards. In the event of a tie, players will draw 5 more panels, and the tying players will draw 5 more panels and have a chance to pick the best closing panel. I think it's amazing that Scott was able to find the beauty in a comic strip that was never funny and turn it into a fun game. In fact, for me, it was as much fun to make this game as it was to play it. I actually found the picture that the images that I used for my animated avatar on Board Game Geek while I was making this game. Like some of the other storytelling games, Once Upon a Time, The Extraordinary Adventures of Baron Munchausen, there's a lot more fun in the joy of the storytelling than there is in competition or strategy. And not everyone likes that. In fact, I played this with a variety of people, and to be honest, not everyone got it. But like Joel Hodgson said of Mystery Science Theater 3000, the right people will get it. And so, we leave you with a musical tribute to Scott McCloud, the creator of 5-Card Nancy, Zot, Understanding Comics, and hopefully many other things in the future.
Scott McCloud, oh Scott McCloud, of yourself you should be proud. Scott McCloud, Scott McCloud, yes, I'll sing it loud. Of comic book theorists, there's none greater. You are the innovator. In fact, I'm only irritated that there's not more you have created. Yes! We'll sing it loud! Yes! You have us proud! Of yourself you should be proud! Oh, Scott McCloud. Right! Yesterday's a dream! Now I face the morning! Crying on the breeze! The pain is calling! Oh, Nancy! Well, you came and gave without taking, and I sent you away, oh, Nancy! And you kissed me and stopped me from shaking, and I need you today, oh, Nancy! Well, you came and you gave without taking, and I sent you away, oh, Nancy! Well, you kissed me and stopped me from shaking, and I need you. Oh! Sorry about that, Barry. I'm sorry. Yes! You had it loud! Yes! We'll sing it loud! Oh, I messed it up. One more take and we'll have